Hey guy, hey
Hi.
guys. So Dad and I basically had this idea where we're going to take a look at Russia and Qatar very closely, the two World Cups, and kind of compare how the costs were, how many people were there, and kind of like our overall thoughts and experiences that we've had, and what possibly we're going to expect in this upcoming Winter World Cup.
This is going to be my seventh World Cup, right? And I never thought
And
I would say that. I mean, I've been to all since 1998, and you never start a streak thinking about it. But I don't think anyone in our family now wants to miss a World Cup.
wants to, yeah. So Dad's on seven. I think this will be my fifth, and yeah, looking forward to keeping the streak going.
Okay. Uh, the Qatar World Cup, I think everybody's had doubts, right, as to why this country. But again, we approach it from a point that all four of us together, we are going to have fun no matter what. So we approach it with a very positive mindset, and I'm sure the infrastructure and the stadium and whatever we are seeing on TV so far is going to be amazing. So we look at it with full positive thoughts, and that's why I think we wanted to focus our analysis on what we know already, which is the costs.
Cost, right?
And at least versus Russia, I have a detailed kind of a breakdown coming up. Uh, the numbers are a little staggering, so it's worth discussing and getting the video kind of out there.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay. Yeah, screen visible.
Yep, all good. 2018 Russia versus 2022 Qatar.
Correct. Russia. We Ritu and I had actually lived there. My wife and I had lived there for a couple of years, way back. I think 19 years prior to this. But in 2018, we returned from 18th June to 8th July for a period of 20 nights. We were in the country. This was our longest World Cup. And hold your horses, because there was
we took everybody. It was all of us, dad, mom, me, Anbika, Dadu, Dadi, and dad's brother, his family as well. So Chachi and their young kids at that time, Sumanyu and Suvir. So it was a very different experience, and it was loads of fun because this was the first time that we had all 10 of us had traveled for such like a big event all together.
And this was my parents' third World Cup as well, because we had been with them to South Africa and Brazil, and they were well and truly hooked. So yeah, lots of memories, lots of excellent memories around. We had tickets for 9 games. The
A
maximum.
record for us.
Anwam and I think, were the only two who saw all 9. The rest, we had different bits and pieces. I mean, in some cases it was 4 of us, in some cases it was 10 of us, in some cases it was 8 of us. So it just varied in that sense. Moscow, St. Petersburg, Sochi. There's this gorgeous town built for the Winter Olympics next to Sochi, about an hour away, called Rosakotur. Nizhny Novgorod, Saransk, where we literally did a back and forth just to visit the match and come back.
Day trip, yeah.
This really posh resort next to Moscow, about a couple of hours away, called Zavidova. So we kind of did a whole tour. But I mean, when I say these names, I don't think people get a sense of the size.
The scale, yeah.
Want to begin first with just some of the beautiful memories that we have from that trip.
Some incredible memories. Yeah, Spain, Russia was one of the knockout rounds and probably one of the best games and atmospheres we experienced in Russia. I mean, that game, just everybody lost their mind. And then Brazil versus Serbia, and just there's so many memories. The Sochi Stadium, it was just an amazing World Cup.
This is Saransk, right? This one, the orange one, correct?
I have a feeling that's Nizhny Novgorod,
Okay. Uh,
but
by the way, Anmam, and it's good to have a product designer in-house. So Anmam's a product designer, and he's been doing these jerseys for us for every World Cup since Brazil. So, and you'll get to, I think, see some of ours in Qatar as well when we get there. So,
Qatar, yeah. So yeah, 2014 to 2022 now. So it'll be fun to see the progression.
yeah. And that, by the way, is all 10 of us.
All of us together.
Yeah. And how people have grown, right? 4 years seems like such a long time.
Such a long time ago.
Give you back to the point of scale, that's Russia, right? I mean, hello, it's 11 time zones, guys, okay? And from here to here, thankfully, they kept the World Cup restricted to the European part, in fact, even smaller than the European part in that sense.
Right. Mostly sticking to the western side of the country.
Now, we must remember Russia laid out the red carpet like never before. So they came up with this concept called fan IDs, i.e., if you had the fan ID, if you bought a ticket, you were entitled to apply for a fan ID. With the fan ID, which you hung around your neck, you were entitled to visa-free entry into the country. You could stay there for a month before the World Cup to literally a month after. You were allowed free travel on match days, and most importantly, when you traveled, they had trains running between the different cities, which were completely free of cost if you were. And you went on the website, the Russian Railways government website, and you booked there, and it was brilliantly organized. I mean, that's that.
Yeah, and it's not like because the trains are free, they were like low quality trains or anything. They were like top of the line, good, high quality, fast trains, and it was so much fun.
With a bar area, with a eating area, with blankets and bed sheets provided free of cost. They literally rolled out the red carpet in that sense. So it was interesting. And this one, I think, gives a better idea of the scale because St. Petersburg is up there in the north on the top left corner. Moscow is somewhere in the middle. This red dot is Saransk. Nizhny, as you can see, is 4 hours away. We rented a flat over there, I think, Airbnb kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Sochi is right here at the bottom. If you see this little dot here, then that's the border to Georgia, and Sochi is right there. In fact, if you walked up in Sochi up to the mountains and took the ski lifts, etc., there, you could walk across to Georgia. I mean,
Georgia.
Yes, there would be cops there, but you could, a huge place. And now to just put numbers to it, we traveled from Pune, which is where I'm based for most of my time. We traveled from Pune to Delhi and then from Delhi to Moscow. And the return fares were for the 6 of us. Now, all my Russia costing is a hodgepodge because, like I said, in some places there were 6 people,
Yeah.
But mostly the bookings were done for parents by me. So they are mostly, their costs are mostly onto us. We also traveled from St. Petersburg to Moscow. Half of our journey was covered already because we went by train, but then we came back by air.
Right.
Same for Sochi. We went by train. It was a 24-hour journey. That's like the kind of distance that the train took to cover this. But we went back by flight because we had more games to see. So yeah, just to keep that kind of going. And that gives you a sense of the distances over there. And then we come to Qatar.
Qatar. I mean, it's really funny when you compare and you have a look at like the map of Russia and then you come down to Qatar. I mean, the size of the country, I think it's 11,000 square kilometers. And I mean, you have states in India that are almost all states in India are larger than that. So
Absolutely. There's 4 of us going. I think the parents have figured out that now their bodies don't kind of, give them enough company or support, though their spirits are very much willing and they would love to be there. My brother also, for different reasons, has decided that he and his kids will not be making that trip. We are there from November 28th to December 14th, so 16 nights. We have 12 games. We had
12 games. Yeah. Although we have sold two, I think, so far using the FIFA's resale platform.
Yeah.
So,
and
still a lot of games.
a lot of games, and there are more latter stages. I think we have many more round of 16 games than we had before in Russia. We have 2 quarterfinals, and we've never seen a semi before. I think, yeah. We though, as a family, and I must kind of stress this, enjoy being there during the group stages and maybe even just the round of 16 stages, because that's when most country fans are there. And the vibrancy that you have with especially the South American nations, the African nations, the Asian nations. I don't think it's the Europeans or the North American nations which kind of bring that as much. That flair, that sheer passion for football that you get to see with these other countries is amazing. The warmth of the fans is at a different level as well. So
100%, and I mean it leads to interesting, fun moments where you bond and you meet fans, and there've been moments where fans sometimes confuse you for another country, and then when they realize, they're like, oh, come give me a hug, and meeting like Pakistani fans in the middle, and then creating those wonderful moments where we're holding out the India and the Pakistan flag. So it's just great fun.
Even I think we don't get less than at least 30-40 requests for photographs by people from different lands, and they realize we are from India. I mean, I think in Qatar there's going to be a lot of people from India, so we'd probably not get to see that as much. But otherwise, so far, every time we've gone and people have realized we are from India, then they're always photos and things.
Requesting for pictures, 100%.
So the kids, if we can still call our mom that, flying in from London to Doha, and that's a distance of about 5,200 kilometers for the two of them.
And that's the funny thing as well, because Ambika will fly in a kid but fly out an adult.
True. During so Mumbai Doha is what Ritu and I will undertake. We'll basically drive down to Pune, from Pune to Bombay, and then catch the flight on Indigo. And we stay mostly in Doha. There's not too many options outside. We are doing 2 nights in Salwa, which is here. It's 100 kilometers from Doha. So this is 100 kilometers, just to give you a sense of perspective, right down to the coast. And now we come to the meat of the
absolutely.
So on a total basis, taking in the fact that I think in some cases the hotel nights are for 10 of us, in some cases it's for 6 of us, in some cases it's for the 4 of us, because I just didn't have the time or the bandwidth to be able to break it down per room, per person kind of a basis. If I compare Russia versus Qatar, and I know what's the amount I paid for Russia, and I know what the amount I've already paid for Qatar, then it's is 56% cost from Russia, even with 10 there in some cases, and more nights and longer distances, as you've seen. And I just found that incredible. And
I mean, we knew, like, when we saw the costs, that, like, they were kind of insane and kind of eye-opening. But what really kind of put this into perspective is when we compared it to like a previous World Cup, and in a country like Russia as well, and then to just see that in a country where they're cramming in millions of fans versus one of those larger countries where everybody's can kind of stay a little more lavishly. It was just eye-opening to see that it's 56% more
with additional people, more nights, additional people, longer flights. There were 6 of us who flew 5,300 kilometers versus just 2 of you who are flying that kind of a distance, etc., right? So, and this is where now I kind of start to break it down, and we're going to do flights, then we're going to do the accommodation, we are going to do the tickets, right?
The match tickets. Yeah.
three kind of. So we flew 6 people versus 4, and distances were similar. And on that basis, Qatar is 74 versus Russia's 100. So 26% cheaper.
Cheap.
But the moment I adjust it to be 4 people each, then it's 12% costlier.
12% more.
Right? Even though the distances still remain higher, like I said. But
right.
And this is all flights, internal, external, everything included. It's not just our return to flight. Like I mentioned, within Russia, we flew as well. So that's not covered here. Yeah. Tickets. So 54 tickets in Russia, 48 tickets.
48.
Qatar.
In Qatar. It's a lot of tickets.
I must say we've been lucky. I think my wife particularly is born under a special lucky star, even my sister-in-law, I have to mention, because Anwam and I will be slaving away. We'll be organizing everything. We'll have, logged into the FIFA sites hours in advance.
Dad and I would be waiting on our laptops in the queue saying, come on, everybody be ready. Dad won't get into the queue first. It'll have to be mom. And then even if we get all the applications sent, we know that mom's application will be accepted.
It's just, it's just hilarious how this works out. And this works out. This is the last 3 World Cups, at least I remember this clearly. So if I compare on a just pure USD versus USD basis, the 48 tickets of Qatar are 38% costlier versus the 54 tickets of Russia. And that itself is such a revealing number, right? I mean, I did mention that we do have more skewed towards the latter stages, and those are costlier. I mean, to give you a sense, I think the round of 16 ticket is $200, $205 versus $165 for a per ticket for a group game. So yes, the costs do go up, but it still is insane that 54 versus 48 costs you 100 versus 138. So when you take it down to average price, when you adjust for the 54 versus 48, it's now become 55% costlier.
Right. And the INR comparison. Yeah.
INR comparison, then it's 69% costlier because the rupee has depreciated, not Qatar's fault, not FIFA's fault. But in reality, for a football fan, when you're, dealing with a local currency, then this is the reality of the situation where you're having to shell out 69% more versus just 4 years ago. Yeah. The big one, the shock,
big one,
the one that's making all the difference.
Accommodation. And it's been a tricky time getting accommodation in Qatar.
In all World Cups, I would have booked all our hotel nights at least 3 or 4 months in advance. In Qatar, we made our last booking, I think 4 or 5 days ago. Simply because, the government has chosen to kind of centralize everything, make one government's website in which everyone has to log in. Most people have had to put up their, shares of their rooms over there. So whether you were a small hotel, also the government has gone all out and created these apartments or these fan zones and these fan villages where you can rent cabins or tents or different things. All of that is on this. They also have these 2 luxury MSC
cruise lines,
where there are rooms available. They're going to be docked permanently. All of that, including hotels, were there. Now, great idea, but there has been complete and utter lack of communication. So as a fan, I had no clue because right in the beginning, I remember the site started functioning, I think end March or early April. There were no hotels. You just couldn't find a hotel.
You couldn't find any hotel.
And the cheapest apartment was $330 a night. I don't think in Russia, I remember paying over $100, $150. And the cheapest one was $320 or something like that, right back in April. And that's when you started having doubts because we bought the tickets. We've got flights done. And now suddenly it's like, hello, did I make a mistake? Because
we don't have anywhere to stay.
yeah. And no hotels. You write to the hotel chains individually, and I'm a member of the Marriott chain, the IHG chain, the Accor, uh, everybody. But there's no information, because when you write to them, they say, no, we have no idea when our rooms will be available. If you write to the Qatari website people, they say, we have no idea. Rooms will become available as is on an availability basis, which, I mean, doesn't answer your question at all. So, finally, the hotels come on, and they come on at, again, obscene prices. I think
Yeah.
a lot of our bookings are at like a $500 per night per room kind of a mark, which is insanity in the sense
I mean, Dad and I would probably have like fun by just filtering it from like most expensive to least expensive, just to laugh at like the prices that they had on the website.
there have been hotels which normally are available for $500 to $700, which were on sale on the website for $7,000, $8,000,
$8,000, yeah.
$8,000 per night for two people. I mean, and this is on the government website. And then now hold your horses. So over time, the availability got better. More and more hotels came. We are obviously trying to filter down, and we have the filter possibility of choosing hotels which have the license to serve alcohol.
Serve alcohol.
We were, ahead of the curve there, and we were using that filter. But if you use that filter, again, the options became severely restricted.
Restricted, correct.
Let's say 60 pages of results, it would become 4 pages of results with hotels which was served alcohol. So just to give you a sense of the travails of booking. And then we booked quite a few nights. We even booked 3 nights as we land in these apartments that they've constructed, managed by Accor, by the way. So we've got all that sorted. We've got 2 stints left, which we thought, okay, it's in the latter half, we'll be fine, no problems. And then guess what? All hotels disappear from all hotels. There's no communication. Again, you write and you get the standard stock answer saying, oh, the inventory is over. But hello, inventory can't be over for all hotels on the same day at the same time. But no news. So you keep waiting for the news, thinking there must be a glitch or something like that. They'll come back. They don't come back for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Now you go on the hotel website and you realize now they're selling what they have still left. They're selling at exorbitant
on their website.
At exorbitant prices again. I mean, insane prices. Now you're caught in a complete conundrum. Do you book? Do you not book? Finally, some hotels start returning back to the government website as well. So I guess that there is some kind of a deal saying this much inventory they can sell on their website, and this much inventory, i.e. 75% of the rooms, must be sold through the government. I assume that is the case, because if I ask this question, I tweet about it, there is zero response. And I can tweet to the Supreme Committee, which is organizing it. I've tried to tweet to the people who are heading the Supreme Committee. I've tried to write to the websites, but you just don't get answers, right? And then we had, of course, the most funny issue.
Our technical issue.
So as Anma mentioned, our daughter Anvika is turning 18. So we made all bookings from the 28th in different places leading up to the 9th of December. I've also booked now 11th to the 14th of December. We are leaving the 9th to 11th, and Anvika is turning 18 on the 10th. And now the website is just not able to comprehend how this works. So
the website, like, it requires you to make like an under 17 kind of guest, or it has to be over 18. So I mean, it was just insane, because we're trying to book like just 9th to 10th as a 17, and then 10th to 11th as an 18-year-old for Anvika, and whatever we're trying, it just doesn't seem to work. And like, obviously the tech support as well from their end was just crazy.
So, I mean, after trying on 3 consecutive days, trying in multiple configurations, trying to do 9th to 10th separately, 10th to 11th separately, we are trying to do all 4 of us in one room. We are trying multiple options, but nothing works. You can't book her as an 18-year-old. I can't book her as a 17-year-old. And the answer should be at the date of check-in, whatever her age is, that's the age which is normally given. Just to clarify, there is no price difference here. The room rent is the same, whether 18-year-old, whether 17-year-old. But the site is just not accepting the input. And we are completely left high and dry. I, of course, write to the inquiries website. It takes them 3 or 4 days to even reply the first time, where they say there's no technical issue. And this is literally the way it begins is, you are not being able to book it. And then I point out, boss, this is not my first rodeo. I've already booked these many sites. No. Send a screenshot. So now I send them screenshots. And then it's like, no, we think you're not booking it properly because we don't think the first guest is 22. Boss, I made all the bookings with my son as the first guest, and then my daughter as the second guest. He's over 22. Can we move on? No. Can you send us a screenshot with that detail, because we think you are still making an error. This went on for about 5 days. Finally, I sent them what they wanted with a screenshot of a time and date stamp saying, after your message, here, I have done this booking. Here you can see the time, this thing. And I'm really disappointed you're kind of doubting me, because I've already made so many bookings, but you seem to have it in your head that I'm doing something wrong. That's not the case. By the way, this is not even my first World Cup. I'm used to this kind of stuff, right? So at that point, they went into silent mode for 5 days. And we're stuck. We don't have our booking for 9th to 11th. Hotel websites, as I mentioned, are way costlier. So it's not our first preference. They finally got back day before saying, okay, this is the solution. That solution, I'm sure, works. But by that time now, I've lost patience, because we fly out in just a few days and there's tons of stuff to do. So we've made our booking on a hotel website where it works, because the hotel websites are very used to this phenomenon. The Qatari government site wasn't. And I said, look, I have to book. Again, it's a higher cost to me, but yeah.
We got it done.
So 20 nights, 6 people, because most of the hotel bookings I made with for my parents. So 20 nights into 6 versus 16 nights into 4. It's basically 120 room nights versus 64 room nights, right?
Correct. And now this is the fun part.
With that discrepancy, even keeping that, just the bill that I'm paying for hotels, Qatar is double. And remember, it's just 2 nights booked off the hotel website. Everything else has been through the Qatari accommodation website, including 3 nights in an apartment, right? This becomes, as you can see, it's already double. So, and this here in room nights is also double. So now the moment I take that into consideration and I make it 64 versus 64, then it's 100 versus 360 in real terms.
More than 3 times.
Costly. And by now I'm stuck, right? Because if I knew about this in advance, I would never have booked for 16 nights. I would have made it 8 nights or 10 nights or 6 nights or somewhere in that range. The tickets, by the way, have been the only refundable part of the trip. So I picked some tickets a few days back on the FIFA website, and thank God for that flexibility, because all we're trying to do is claw some money back, because the expenditure is insane. Everything else, the flights, the accommodation is frozen. The day you paid it, it's non-refundable. So we are in a way stuck. So you just have to keep more money at it.
And it's not like, we're looking for like expensive hotels or, one of like those high quality ones. Because first of all, all the expensive hotels, like Dad said, cost like $10,000 a night. And so, after careful hunting and filtering and using, the license to serve alcohol filter as well. And, we're looking for some decent hotels. And it's not like I mentioned, they're all, 5-star hotels or resorts. They're just nice places, but they still cost so much.
And they're costing. So, I mean, I've even done this search where I've tried to book for, let's say, in October, before the World Cup, right? And the rate between October and, let's say, the rate on the government website when it's this is 5 or 6 times at the least. In some cases, it's more than 10 times. So it's the same hotel, same room, charging differentials. And the only thing I did do was I didn't book at any new property apart from those 3 days in the apartment specifically constructed. I've chosen to go with hotels that have been around for some time because I'm well aware as a seasoned traveler that new hotels can have issues occur or there can be delays, etc. So I think that's the only place where I've kind of not given in. But that's the kind of cost that we are stuck with. And at this stage, I just want to bring kind of Brazil in. Anu,
Brazil.
what memories does Brazil hold for you?
For me, honestly, Brazil. Well, I hate to say this because I loved Russia so much as well, but like Brazil in a way was like the benchmark for a World Cup. I mean, you're basically going home in, like the Mecca of football in the country. The people there, they're just so passionate about, football and sport, and, they're so passionate about their own country and so proud to show it off to, the world as well. The people are some of the nicest people you will ever meet. And the country is just, it's drop dead gorgeous. The things that we saw and, places we went to that I don't think any of us will ever forget for the rest of our lives, from, the architecture to the nature, to the rainforests, to eco resorts, to waterfalls and lagoons and pools. It's the whole package.
I mean, Russia was easily the best organized World Cup so far. No doubt, no debate. And as I mentioned, they spared no effort or expense to make you feel welcome. They came up with this brilliant innovation called the Fan ID, so in Brazil, for example, you had to go and apply for a visa, which you got almost immediately, but you still had to go. So all of us traveled down to the Brazilian consulate in Mumbai, where
Right.
and they were very sweet and laughing and joking about the World Cup. You also had to get this, vaccination done, etc.
Yeah.
Prior to getting there, it was free, the visa, but you had to make that trip. So, but by the time Russia came along, they had got this whole Fan ID system, which was brilliant.
Yeah. And you can now see Qatar using it as well with the Haya card, which is basically a fan ID.
So Brazil was again 6 of us, similar length, 16 nights, huge distance. I mean, from Bombay to LHR to Sao. We went to Sao Paulo, we came back via Rio, but we flew British Airways, 16,500 kilometers each way. So broadly, one round trip is a circle around the globe. And we flew premium economy because I was really worried for my parents, especially at their cope with the length of the flight. We did multiple cities. You can see some. Like I said, we flew into Sao. We went and saw 2 games in Brasilia. We saw 2 games in Salvador. We then flew to Rio, and we visited near Brasilia as well.
The dad and I had to do some, had to kind of figure it out or do some jugaad, as they say, to get some tickets for a game in Rio.
We saw quite a few. We saw fewer games versus the other World Cups. I mean, just 5 over there. And like Anwar mentioned, we
stayed in some incredible places. The eco resort, I think, easily is the standout for everybody. It was in a place called Cavalcante, and it was near what we think was an Amazon tributary. It may not be, but we swam in it, so I think all of us are happy. And they had some lagoons and waterfalls, and it was gorgeous. And I think we can't fault any place we stayed at in Brazil. The villa was amazing. The hosts were amazing. The flat in central Rio was amazing. The area we stayed in as well it was all amazing.
I mean, they call it Cacheros, the waterfalls, and it was about 300 kilometers north of Brasilia. We rented a car, we drove down, we stayed there, we had a blast. Going over. The villa in Salvador was 5 minutes walk from the beach, on the outskirts, some lovely restaurants, walking distance, etc. I mean, we had a barbecue inbuilt. Some of my friends from India had who were visiting came over. We enjoyed a barbecue together, some drinks together, some caipirinhas, etc. So it was insane. We had a hammock. So it was a really large villa with a garden and things like that. Now, with all of this, we of course again created some beautiful memories. That's, by the way, the waterfall you can see on the left. We were drinking water. It was that pristine, the quality of the water.
Corcovado, Maracana, and obviously the first iteration of our famous India jerseys.
Yeah, with our names at the back. Brazil and Russia, I remember, were almost identical in terms of the bill. I don't have the breakdown of flights and tickets and all separately. If I really wanted to, I could probably dig it up, but it was a similar cost. South Africa, and again, I remember this, South Africa was 60. So if Russia was 100, if Brazil was 100, South Africa is 60. So here you have our kind of final comparison. 60 for South Africa, 100 for Brazil, 100 for Russia. And Qatar is an insane 250 to 270.
More than double of Brazil and Russia, and more than 4 times of South Africa.
So that's what we are going through as football-loving fans. We just like to be there for the occasion. I am not at all faulting the Qatari government. They're doing the best that they can, I'm sure. But the outcome for a fan, and I think it's FIFA who has to take responsibility for this, is that we are paying an insane amount of money for a trip, which is in fact smaller than some of the trips that we've had in the past. And that's the reality of the situation. We, like I said, what's done is done. We look forward. We are trying to sell some tickets to kind of make some money back. We have tickets for X games. We've now sold 2. We may sell another round back to FIFA. But all that's for the future. We are looking forward to kind of getting there. We are looking forward to showing off our new jerseys. Anmam's, I think, done an extraordinarily brilliant job this time. With the jerseys. So we look forward to all of that. We look forward to the warmth of the Arabic people.
And the warmth of the sun.
And the warmth of the sun, so well said. Yeah, we are paying an insane amount. So that's what we wanted to discuss. Any last word on Mom?
I just think it was a very interesting idea and thought to kind of just go through the history that we've had with the World Cups. And I feel like Brazil onwards is when, especially in my experience, because I felt like I was starting to get to that age where I got what was happening, where, you can understand, it's like, oh, okay, we're doing this, we're doing that. Russia for me was like the first time where I was kind of on board a bit more with Dad to kind of understand what's going on, what goes into World Cup planning. And so Qatar for me it's been extremely eye-opening, because I'm in that position now where Dad and I are usually discussing or on call or online together and trying to figure out and book and hunt. So I feel like the World Cups for us have also been this crazy learning experience, and we've grown up an insane amount. I mean, 2010 to 22 now. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like Dad said, we're really excited to see what Qatar is going to be like. We've seen great things. The stadiums look really good. The atmosphere inside look amazing, and as always, we just hope and that we get to see some awesome football.
Yeah, that I think is the last word from us. Do subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with our updates. We'll be doing more videos, especially after we land there. Yeah, so look forward, guys. Thanks so much.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.